What's up, Last of Us fans? It's John of Video Games and the World, and this is the latest news. The Last of Us is one of the most popular shows as of now, and come this June, it's been 10 years since the game was first released and became a major success, selling millions of copies worldwide. Wow, time surely flies, and now it's a TV series in which the entire first season will be released on Blu-ray this June. I gotta say that the show was really good, and I hope that next season will be released next year. I just hope they don't delay it for 2 years like they did with House of the Dragon. I hate it when they do shit like this. It really pisses everyone off. Right now, it has surpassed House of the Dragon in terms of viewership. I'm sure lots of awards are coming their way. Anyways, the latest news today is about Rainn Wilson. Rainn Wilson is one of the stars of the hit TV sitcom The Office. He has heavily criticized the show for an anti-Christian bias. The episode he criticized was the 8th episode of the first season, which has David as the leader of a religious cult who manipulates his people through fear. The 8th episode was close to the source material, yet it expanded David's storyline. In the game, David is the leader of a group of cannibals who is pretty much a creep towards Ellie. In the show, he is that much of a creep as well, and we see he has this thing for Ellie. Gross. David's storyline in the show portrays him as a preacher and giving him a detailed backstory rooted in religion. Where the game only hinted at David's possible religious proclivities, the HBO show made his Christian faith a core part of the character. Rainn Wilson tweeted out the following: "I do think there is an anti-Christian bias in Hollywood. As soon as the David character in The Last of Us started reading from the Bible, I knew that he was going to be a horrific villain. Could there be a Bible reading preacher on a show who is actually loving and kind? Well, have you ever seen Seventh Heaven? Reverend Camden? Oh, but the actor, fuck. What he did was, in real life was, ruined childhood, you know what I'm saying? And here's another thing that he tweeted. Here's a couple of funny things about the anti-Christian bias in Hollywood. My opinion tweet was picked up as a front page news by Fox News, by @Fox News. Talk about bias. An organization created as a corporate shield to create division solely for profit based on culture war outrage. Print that." Well, I'm gonna be poking the hornet's nest yet again. As you can see, Wilson used the show and its character David as an example of a perpetual Hollywood stereotype that portrays Bible-reading preachers as horrific villains. After the tweet gained traction in the news, Wilson clarified that he is not a Christian and wanted to point out a trope in cinema that he believes should not exist. However, series co-creator and writer Craig Masson previously discussed David and his community in the show's official podcast, explaining how he believes theocracies are often a terrible system of rule compared to one of secular law. Original game creator and series co-creator Neil Druckmann also compared the cordyceps fungus' nature of being fruitful, multiplying, and protecting its own through violence to organized religion. Here's the thing. In various movies and TV shows, there have been lots of Christian characters portrayed as these horrible people who twist a religion for their own darkest desires, not to forget that they use religion to justify prejudice against certain groups of people, like the LGBTQ community, for example. Characters like Margaret White in Carrie, Sarah Newland in True Blood, Pastor Ramon Cruz in The Get Down, and so on. But hey, there are Christians in shows and movies that do not crazy preach to those around them and still love friends and family regardless of what they are. However, Christian movies like God's Not Dead and its many sequels have this knack of portraying atheists as these mean, God-hating non-believers who shame people for being Christians and mock them as well. Most PureFlix movies do that most of the time, portraying atheists as very bad people, and I don't like that. Look, I'm a non-denominational, and I know a lot of atheists, and many of them are good friends of mine, and we get along really good. And I remember some people suggesting that I should read stuff like Richard Dawkins' The God Delusion, Sam Harris's End of Faith, and Christopher Hitchens' God Is Not Great, How Religion poisons everything. And also listen to guys like Penn Jillette. Now here's the thing, look. In real life, there are lots of Christians who indeed use religion to justify various atrocities and prejudice towards a group of people. Television shows, whether fictional or not, reflect the real world. And also, they say that their lives are sinful and they will go to hell if they don't stop. That is totally messed up, saying something like that. Not to mention that throughout history, many Christians have committed so many atrocities in the name of God. The Crusades, the Inquisition, witch burnings, the Westboro Baptist Church, the Satanic Panic, bombing abortion clinics, setting adult shops on fire, and the extremely emotionally, physically, and mentally harmful conversion therapy camps. Now, it is known that Hollywood made many movies and shows where Christians are portrayed as these villainous and horrendous people who use their religions to justify their prejudice and atrocities, believing themselves to be righteous and just. But they are acting more like Pharisees than Christian. An example I might add is Castlevania in Season 1, when Dracula's wife was burned at the stake by the Bishop of Targovista because he believed that she was performing witchcraft. He accused an innocent woman of witchcraft when she was a doctor. Because remember, in those times, if a woman dared to be a doctor, killing the sick and the wounded, the church, being so misogynistic, would accuse these women of these innocent women who were doctors of witchcraft. And that sucks. That really, really sucks. You know what I'm saying? And because of that bishop of Targovista, who later becomes the Bishop of Greshit in Castlevania, the Netflix series, he is responsible for Dracula summoning all these night creatures. And also, remember, there's this episode I remember from Grey's Anatomy where the daughter of a couple was in a hospital because of a conversion therapy camp. The mother thought that her daughter was sick because of being a lesbian, but the father, he finally stood up to his wife and he said that he although he believes in God and he's a Christian, he will love his daughter unconditionally. And that's exactly how you do it. A real Christian must always love their children unconditionally, no matter what. Now, I'm a heterosexual, non-denominational Christian male. If one day I ever get to have children, if my son comes out as gay or bisexual, I will always love him, no matter what. If my daughter comes out as lesbian or bisexual, I will always love her, no matter what. Hell, if one of them either comes out as either transgender or non-binary, I'll still love them no matter what. Judge not, and thou shalt not be judged. That's the book of Luke. Anyway, there are some movies and shows where Christians are seen as good people who accept people of different backgrounds, creeds, and sexualities. I mean, Seventh Heaven, for God's sake, the Camdens, they were friends with the Hamiltons, and I remember that they befriended a Muslim family when I used to watch the show, of course. The movie Prayers for Bobby had a message about unconditional love for your children and always accept them no matter what it costs you. Romans 13:8-10 says, "Let no debt remain outstanding except the continuing debt to love one another, for whoever loves others has fulfilled the law." Galatians 5:14, "For the entire law is fulfilled in keeping the command, love thy neighbor as thyself." So don't think that Hollywood has this anti-Christian bias just because of a bunch of movies and shows that portray Christians as bad guys. Because in real life, there were a lot of people who identify as Christians and they were very, very horrible people. But hey, there were movies that portrayed Muslims as bad guys too. So don't think that there's this bias against Christians in Hollywood. But I like movies that has a positive portrayal of Muslims, and shows as well like Miss Marvel, which I really, really loved. And that's pretty much all I have to say, people. Comment, rate, share, and subscribe. I'm John of Video Games and the World. Have a good one. Peace.